Hello and welcome back to the latest episode of the Master of None podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Murphy. I'm joined by a special guest this evening. We have Daragh Small, sports journalist, currently working with Cow Corner Sport, but has covered Connacht for the last couple of years gone by. And we're here to chat about Connacht Rugby for a while. So Daragh, first of all, how are you?
I'm good now, Stephen, and yourself?
Not too bad, thanks. Thanks for joining me as always. Appreciate it. We're here to chat about some Connacht Rugby because I would now classify myself as a Connacht fan, having lived there for a few years, and I've been suckered into supporting them, maybe you could say, by a couple of mates of mine. So, and you're obviously a big fan as well. So we'll chat about them, Stephen, just because I find it very interesting to talk about the years gone by and where they currently are, because there's no doubt in the potential about this team, but maybe haven't lived up to it yet, or we can get stuck into that. But I think we'll start on my side. I have a couple of questions, obviously, for you. We'll start management-wise, because since Pat Lam, we've sort of had a bit of a roller coaster of management, because obviously great success under Pat Lam. We had a year of Kieran Keane, which obviously wasn't successful, and now we're sort of back to better ways when it comes to Andy Friend. But what, in your opinion, what was the kind of biggest changes going between each manager? So from Pat Lam to Kieran Keane, why did that not work?
It was just something completely different, I suppose. You had the success of 2016, and then it was kind of a bit of a lull after that in 2016-17, and then I suppose Pat left, and all that went with that, and then Kieran came in, and it just didn't click straight away, and it was just, I suppose it never got going for Kieran Keane, and before it could get going, it all ended, and then there was another. That was his own thing as well. But I think Andy Friend has been a complete kind of just a breath of fresh air again. Like, it's like Pat coming all over again. But it's crazy to think it's his third season now. All of a sudden, like it seems like yesterday he came through the door. But like, the results weren't brilliant straight away with Andy Friend, but you could see there was a philosophy there, like Pat, the free flowing rugby, that sort of stuff. And you can see it really coming to fruition now this year. With I think he has the right players in the right positions. Maybe the depth isn't there at the moment, but if everyone's fit, if everyone's playing, like, that's a serious Connacht team at the moment.
Yeah, they seem definitely more likely to stick with him, because even when he signed, I think it was Ben O'Donnell and Abraham Papali'i, he was saying they were signings a long time in the making. He was trying to get them signings for a long time. So he seems to, as you say, have a plan, and he seems to like his sevens players as well, obviously coming from that background himself. But under Andy Friend, what do you think? What has it been that's clicked when it comes to Connacht with him? Is it just the playing style? Is it his coaching style? What do you think?
I think it's a bit of everything, but I think the playing style, like, I think Connacht have, like, gone are the days of when to hell at Connacht and all this crap and coming out west and playing in the wind and the rain. Like, the wind and the rain is still there, of course, but like, you see this brilliant free flowing rugby. And he has the players now to match it. Like, John Porch, I think, has been unbelievable since he came in. He's there now his second season, and he's like reverting to full back. He's brilliant under the high ball, but his attack as well is just amazing. And then when you match that with Alex Wooten, if we can keep a hold of him, he's an amazing talent as well. So I think it could be the talent acquisition, as you said, with Ben O'Donnell when he eventually gets on the field. I'm sure he's going to hit the ground running as well. Like, he seems very like John Porch, who would have played with him in with Australia and stuff. Maybe it is down to the players he's bringing in, and he's trying to get the dressing room all clicking as well. And once the players are happy and there's a happy dressing room, that's half the battle as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. He seems like a very calming influence. He doesn't seem to. I went to a off the ball roadshow when they came to Galway, and he was interviewed alongside Tiernan O'Halloran, and he just seems very laid back, and he doesn't seem to get emotional or anything like that.
He's very chilled out. Like, even from the press conferences, when you're dealing with Andy, you nearly have to put in your head to hear what he's saying. It's just, he's really chill, calm. He's like, he's just a lovely guy to deal with as well, which is great as well. It's another bonus.
Yeah, true, exactly. Well, you mentioned there, you touched on a few of the new signings. So how do you think they've gotten on? Obviously, Alex Wooten, Sammy Arnold came in with Abraham Papali'i. As you mentioned, we still haven't seen Ben O'Donnell, but I feel like especially Alex Wooten and Sammy Arnold, just because they've played a bit more than Papali'i has at the moment. But Alex Wooten especially hit the ground running really with Connacht.
Yeah, I just looked up some of the stats from the weekend there. Obviously, a couple of tries, but like some of the stats, he was He's the top in successful carries, clean breaks, defenders beaten, meters made. Obviously, he had one big break there, but
Yeah.
he's a fantastic talent. Like, he's obviously another sevens type player. He would have played sevens back in the day as well, down in Limerick. But he's a Munster player, but he's come up to Connacht, and hopefully we can keep a hold of him, because who knows how far he can go. And I think he's just made that wing position his own. I don't see anyone dislodging him at the moment. And yeah, John Porch as well, a fullback. I think the two of them are locked in at the moment. I know Tiernan is injured, but like it's going to be some battle to try and get John Porch out of there at the moment. Well, you could move Porch to the wing and put Tiernan in a fullback, but they're two certainties for me. Papa Lee, it's like you can see the talent is there. He's just been very unfortunate, like that red card at the weekend. It's leading with the head. Like, I don't know. Like, they're appealing that. Hopefully that's successful. But like, I don't know. Like, do you lead with the head in a tackle? I just think he was unlucky. It's his rugby league background as well. It's like he mightn't be as used to the low tackling and the working on that and all that in training. But you can see the talent is there. It's just he's been unlucky so far. When he gets a good run, he's still only 27. When he gets a good run, he could be the next Nick Williams, that sort of thing. Maybe a bit better than Nick Williams, but that sort of player. And he's got the hands and all that as well. So he can break a tackle and give an offload, which is always good. And yeah, that's.
Yeah, with Papa Lee, he definitely, because we chatted about this on the podcast before. He's that player that, you know, you kind of just have to accept that he is going to pick up red cards every now and then because of the way he plays. But, you know, 80% of the time, it's going to be worth it. You know what I mean? He's going to bring that physicality where they might be lacking previously, and their running ability that they just don't have. So, look, you're going to have to take the rough with the smooth when it comes to him. But there's no doubting.
They needed the big bulldozer number 8,
Yeah.
and that's what they got in bucket loads. But he does offer the handoffs and the offloads and all this as well when he gets out of the tackle. And it'll just be interesting to see that when it does get going, because he hasn't really shown it as much yet, because he hasn't got the chance, because he's been sent off twice in 4 games or whatever it is. But no, he's another really exciting acquisition. Sammy Arnold, of course, like, I was surprised when Munster let him go. He's a great player as well. Like, I don't think he's fully shown it yet at all at Connacht, but like at Munster in the last couple of years when he was on the field, he was sensational in the Pro 14. Yeah, there's a lot of good players coming in the door there, and they're not massive names, but they can do a job, and they've plenty of ability and talent to make it big, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point. I should have brought it up because when these signings were announced, I know it was nearly split 50-50 down the middle of my friends who are Connacht supporters. They were somewhere happy with the signings, and then some weren't happy that Connacht seemed to be picking players from other provinces that aren't getting game time. Where do you kind of fall on that? Like, is it just tough for Connacht to get these massive name signings? Is like, should they just be, because like as you said before, Alex Wooten and Sammy Arnold, they're not bad players. They just can't. They're not maybe good enough to be a starting for Munster week in, week out. So, that's not necessarily a bad player to target, but then again, it's not the massive names. So where do you kind of fall on that? Like, is that what Connacht should be doing, or should they be targeting maybe more, as they say, highlight names?
Well, like, the highlight names might not necessarily make it either. You know, it's the look of the draw sometimes. Like, you don't know, injury, anything like that. You don't know what will happen. But like, Connacht bring in these players, and a lot of them like seem to do it for Connacht. Whatever it is, they come, and like, there's a lot of, when you come to Connacht, there's a lot of pride, passion to play for the jersey, no matter where you're from, really. And like, see what Bundy has done since he came in. It's just he's a Connacht man now. He's a Galway man now. You know, it's just they just take to Connacht, and like Sammy Ireland is a great player. Like as I said, I'm surprised Munster let him go. Alex Wooten has scored tries for fun in the Pro 14s the last few years. Like, I know Munster have got a lot of great wingers, but I was surprised they let him go as well. Conor Oliver, like, another, he's a very good open side. He was right up there in the Pro 14 with Munster the last few years. Maybe he wasn't dislodging the likes of Peter O'Mahony or Jack O'Donoghue or these ones, but he's well able to do a job, and like, he's seen what he's done for Connacht since he's come in as well. You know, he's the perfect size for a good open side as well. You know.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, I think you agree. I totally agree. When they come to Connacht, it does seem to be like they just totally buy into the culture and the Connacht way. And like, yeah, obviously having Bundy there is nice to have as an attraction to come and
Yeah,
play
it's nice.
alongside.
It's
And
nice to have. It's nice to have a few marquee names, like, but you don't
mm,
need to break the bank every time, like, because that can lead to financial trouble, and that's not something I'm sure Connacht want on their plate
yeah,
in the year of the coronavirus.
yeah. So Bowden Barrett's not coming. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't know, but I doubt it now.
Yeah, we
Very
haven't got
much
the
so.
Japanese money. They haven't got the Japanese money.
No, no, no.
We'll touch on Connacht just this season so far. So currently sitting third, Conference B, behind Munster and Scarlets. They have 3 wins out of 5, but they do have 2 games in hand over Scarlets in second place. So by no means a bad position. Recently, though, a pretty tough loss to Scarlets. What was your views on that?
Yeah, I just thought that was a tough one to take because it was so close again. It could have gone either way, but it was just maybe a squad selection. I'm not sure about it for that particular game. The scrum faltered. Jack Ainger is like nothing against Connor Kenny, but I thought maybe Jack Ainger might have been a better option in that game. And I suppose Tom Farrell come on late in the game. Could he have got more minutes? I know he might have been nursing an injury, but like we know what he did at the weekend. Obviously, he got injured, but before that, he had the top offloads in the game, 4 or 5 offloads, I think. Like it just that was a massive game for Connacht, and I know they're only they're a point ahead of Cardiff and a point behind Scarlets as far as I know. Like they have 2 games in hand in both of them, so they're 2 very very winnable games, potentially 10 points, whatever, all going well. So they may move ahead of these guys, but still that was a bit of a sore one to lose, the one to Scarlets at home, and you could see how much Scarlets loved that victory as well afterwards.
Yeah, it sort of summed up a few with the other loss as well. It's Connacht, they're great in patches, and then it seems to be small, mental errors or small patches of kind of just inconsistencies that lets them down when it comes to games like that. But why do you think Andy Friend went with that sort of selection? Is that squad rotation? Is it resting players? Is it injuries? What do you think was behind that?
Well, there were a few injuries around the place. I think it was Caleb Blade. I think might have been a little bit injured before that game as well, so he missed out. It's difficult to know. You don't know week to week. You can't. We're not on the inside in these camps either. But it was difficult to take at the end of the day. Just the defeat more than anything else. But sure, I suppose they just move on, and at least last weekend wasn't too bad,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that definitely helps when it comes to score difference. The squad depth and strength, Daragh, because I think I mentioned this before on a different podcast. The starting 15 of Connacht, I think, is good enough to challenge and beat any team on its day. But I think where the squad drops off, obviously, is when you get past that starting 15. I think maybe it's a step down. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you look at that starting 15, you've got some incredible players. Like obviously you've got Bundy Aki, Marmion, if he's starting on his day, is still one of the best 9s. Even like Thornberry has been an absolute force this year, and he's been absolutely brilliant. And Delan is back in a bit of you've got good players all over the pitch. Do you see that? Is there a bit of a drop off when it comes past that starting 15?
And I think the second row is the best place to look at it, because you've got 3 second rows there that, like, 2 of them are internationals, and you could have another international there, like Gavin Thornberry, Quinn Rue, and Until Delan, or they could play for any of the provinces, like, no problem. But then just below that, like, there's been injuries, and all of a sudden we've had to kind of bring Owen Masterson into the second row. I know he can play there, but he's more of a flanker. It's actually great to see him getting a bit of game time there. So there is another option, because Niall Murray is injured too, and Oisin Dowling hasn't got any game time yet. He's injured as well. But I think that's probably the one place where we are lacking. Tight head, like, I know Connor Kenny played that game that time, but we actually do have a lot of depth there. There's Finlay, Dominic Robertson, McCoy, Jack Ainger. I think he's been another great signing. Tight head is brilliant. Scrum half is probably where we're absolutely perfect at the moment. Kieran Marmion, Caelan Blade, both, I think they're as good as each other. It's tough to pick between the 2. I think Caelan could nearly be, like, he's a great option to spring off the bench, but I don't know what's your choice there. Who would you go for? But
I think Marmion probably sneaks out because Marmion defensively
yeah,
has just been incredible. But then
yeah.
Blade is like, he's rapid. There's no doubt. He's just, when he
Mm.
goes, he's gone. He's a great sniper and all that. So, but look, it's great. It's a fantastic headache to have when it comes to
Colin
selection.
Riley at the weekend. Colin Riley
Yeah,
at the weekend was
and
brilliant.
your man
Stephen Kearns as well.
Stephen Kearns. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So
like there's talent coming through all the time. I think there's another couple of guys coming through the academy, but yeah, it's probably just the second row, but still, like if we have those 3 second rows, we're sorted. Like, you know, it's just when the injuries happen, and they do happen, and unfortunately, Connacht tend to get a lot of them. Not a lot,
yeah.
but they tend to get a bit unlucky in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. And just again, squad depth. Is there any young players coming through that you think that maybe the fans should look out for, or future stars maybe?
Just the Colin Riley at the weekend, I suppose. He's obviously one. Niall Murray, obviously. There's Jim Kilgallen. They're the young winger, and obviously Colin the Butler. But sure, they're all kind of known already. But Dylan Tierney Martin, I suppose. Like
Yeah.
he hasn't seen game time yet, but like I'm surprised, like, because I know there's a lot of hookers there, but a lot of good hookers there as well, but like he could be anything. Like you've seen what he did for the Ireland under-20s. He's got that bit of a streak in him as well. You know, he looks like he's up for the fight. You know, that's what you need.
Yeah, there was a good few Connacht lads on that under-20 team, wasn't there?
Yeah, the brilliant team. The Colin Riley's team, wasn't it? Yeah, they won the Grand Slam that year as well, didn't they?
And they were
Colin Riley scored the try.
Yeah, to seal it there. And this year before it was cancelled, they were demolishing teams as well. That on the 20 teams.
Yeah,
so
there's
a
lot of good talent coming through, but unfortunately they're coming through in some of the other provinces as well. So.
Yeah, well, that's true as well. Yeah, yeah. Obviously, Niall Murray as well. We had him on the podcast a few months ago, so disappointed to see him get injured. But when he does come back, as you said there, he's got some great players ahead of him to learn from in Thornbury and Quinn.
And when he puts a bit of size in him as well, like in terms of like he's tall as it is, but I mean in terms of width, like he'll be superb talent, you know.
Even when he came on the podcast, he said he put on 10 kilos over like the space of, I don't know how long he said it, but it wasn't long at all. And I think they wanted another 10 on him, I'd say, at that stage. You know what I mean? So he's an absolute monster of a man.
There's massive, like he's a great chance of making it big, you know.
Yeah, hopefully. The next 2 months for Connacht are massive. You've got 4 massive European ties ahead with Racing 92 and Bristol coming to town. And then in the Pro 14, you're playing the other 3 provinces, obviously, over Christmas. Obviously, we'll touch on the European ties ahead. Obviously, just incredible games for Connacht fans to look forward to. Obviously, you know, it's strange when you get drawn with those teams. You obviously want to play the best, but then obviously you have more chance of getting through if you play weaker teams. But can Connacht fans, can they dare to dream when it comes to those 2 ties?
I don't think so. Honestly, I don't think so. No, like anything can happen, but realistically, Connacht are the 3rd best team there, aren't they? In terms of those 3 teams. But as you said earlier, like they're on their day, and with the players we have, if everyone's fit, unfortunately, Tom Farrell will be missing the first 2 European ties. But like if we can get everyone else fit, you never know. But like just looking at it from the outside in, I would say Connacht's the 3rd best team there. You know, maybe target the Interpros as well, get a couple of wins there. Unfortunately, I think we're away to Leinster. Is it just after Christmas? That could be a bit of a toughie, but
Leinster are pretty good.
Yeah, they're pretty good at the moment. But yeah, it's like you never know at home. They could spring a surprise. They could beat both of them at home. You just never know. But realistically, I see a few defeats there against Bristol and Racing.
Yeah, you never know. Like, you know, Racing's style of play and Bristol's style of play doesn't suit well to you know, gale winds and sideways rain. So especially Racing with that home stadium of theirs, you know, that's I don't think
it's a bit different to the sports game.
Connacht going there could be bad now at the office, but the reverse fixtures, that could be. But look, as I said before, teams always, you know, you see it in soccer with the FA Cup when the small teams get drawn against, say, like the United and stuff like that. That's the teams you want to be playing against. Do you know what I mean? That's who you want to measure yourself against when it comes to.
And you get the likes of Bundy back, and all of a sudden, like Bundy, the rest of the internationals, and all of a sudden they will transform the side as well, and they're going well. Like to see what they did at the weekend. They scored 6 tries after going 7-0 down after 2 minutes, and they had lads sent off and injury to Tom Farrell, but they persevered, and like they're on a high, you know. So I don't see why
100%.
they can't. I don't see why they can't spring a surprise or two, you know.
Yeah, and in the Pro 14 as well, what's realistic for this group? Is it finishing top 2 with Munster?
Yeah, it's a tough one as well. Munster just keep grinding out those wins. You know, they're on serious form as well at the moment. There's so much good young talent coming through. Coombs and Casey are just tearing it up there. But yeah, it's going to be so close. It's just looking at it at the moment. I think Connacht and Munster are up near the top of the attack rankings, and they're down at the bottom of the defence rankings, which is. It's pretty random. They're very close to each other in all the stats. But yeah, I like it's going to be close between Connacht and Munster, but I think Munster will pip us every time, you know.
Well, they've already got a bit of a head start when it comes to it. But yeah, Munster are strange. Like I remember watching the first game that they had against Scarlets, and it was just an awful game, and Munster were also just awful in it. And I remember watching that game being like, God, they are going to struggle this year. And I couldn't be further wrong. They've won 6 out of 6, tough wins away from home. It's incredible.
They have a knack of grinding out the wins. Like, it's just it's strange to see the provinces doing so well. Obviously, they tend to do well in the Pro 12/Pro 14, but is it good at this stage? Like a lot of people are talking about it at the moment. Is it good to see Irish provinces winning non-stop, and then the international team losing, getting beaten well by England? You know, it's is it healthy? Not sure what can we do about it.
Yeah, well, in fairness, I think Leinster's the only one that's really easing to wins. I think at least Munster are working hard for theirs. But the Pro 14, so as we said before, Connacht seem to like it's out of an 80-minute game, 60 minutes of it seems to be great, and then it can be sort of 20 minutes of switching. I don't know, switching off could be harsh, but not being at their best. That's something that can be improved, right? That's something that's not just if a team's like that, a team can change, right?
Yeah, 100%. I looking at those defence stats as well. I think Connacht are top of the missed stats, or the missed tackles in the league, in the whole league. So like that can be improved on 100%. Like, and Connacht, I think, are a team though that you'll score how many points, but we score more, you know. So they'll always be exciting to watch. But like they're missing a few very key players at the moment. Once you get them all back in, like they can push on even further, and they're in a good position. Let's face it, they're in a good position. Like like it's the only bad one so far, I suppose, is Scarlet.
Yeah, exactly. As you say, when Bundy comes back and Quinn Roux comes back, that'll tighten up defensively. Bundy doesn't miss too many tackles, in fairness to him.
Exactly.
So I put out on Twitter and Instagram, Daragh, for a couple of listener questions, and we got a few in. So if you don't mind, I'll throw them your way and see. So we've got some coming in. So I'll start with the first one. This is an interesting one, actually. Is who or what do you think has made the most significant contribution to Connacht in the last few years? So is it a player, or maybe a change of style, or something along the lines of that?
It has to be Bundy, I suppose, isn't it?
I think so.
Just like such an influence, just changed the mindset. Like this guy's one of the top centres in Europe, like, and he's playing for Connacht, and like he has no sign of him leaving. Like he wants to play here, he loves it here. He's like, he might have given out about the training ground and the sports ground a couple of times, but he loves it. Like he's just a cool character, and I think the people who go, I love him. People at Connacht there, love him, and yeah, I think Bundy and Pat Lam.
Yeah, Pat. Just touching on that, Bundy, him re-signing, just how big was that for Connacht, as to get a central contract and for him to commit to them for another couple of years? Just how big, as for the fan base, was that? Because obviously, Henshaw leaving to go to Leinster, that was obviously a bit of a kick in the gut. And I'm sure plenty of Connacht fans feared that when it came to Bundy. So just, how much did that mean to the Connacht fan base?
Yeah, it just shows that you don't have to leave Connacht to further your chances with Ireland, to further your international claims and all this. And I'm sure like that shows other players as well, other marquee names, other guys coming up from New Zealand or wherever, that Connacht is a place you can go and you can make a career, and you don't have to, you might be making necessarily the big bucks, but you're playing for a good team, you're playing under a good coach, you have good teammates, it's just a good message to be sending out to to the wider rugby sphere, you know.
Yeah, 100%. Well, this one again kind of ties in. Well, it's probably a two-horse race, this question, but Connacht's greatest ever player, I think obviously the two candidates would be Bundy and John Muldoon.
Yeah.
Can you even choose? Is like picking two of your favorite kids? Maybe that's a tough
Yeah.
question.
You'd have to go for Mull, I think, wouldn't you?
I think,
He's
I think so.
just about. Just because like he was the tears after the Pro 12 final back in 2016. Like it was, everyone had a bit of John Muldoon in them back then, didn't they? It was
Yeah.
just he's just a bit of a legendary figure, I think.
What was it? 300? How many games was it? 300?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Something
It's just, it was
ridiculous.
ridiculous figures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for a man in his position as well, you don't get that
Mm.
anymore. So
Yeah.
that's incredible too. Just a good one actually. So a player at Connacht that you would have liked to seen given more opportunity, maybe, or more time, or when you saw them leave, you were very disappointed that they actually left maybe a bit too soon.
Yeah. I saw that one actually. I was thinking about it. I was thinking John Muldoon, but like we've got Jared Butler, who has taken over in terms of leadership, captaincy, and all that, and he's been every bit as good as John from that point of view, and he's making tackles and he's leading from the front. So maybe Ali Muldowney just.
Yes, that's a good one.
Yeah, like his hands were unbelievable. Like he was absolutely central to the 2016 victory. Like he played such a great role there, and the guys loved him in the dressing room, and he was a big loss when he left. And yeah, I think he'd be brilliant. Like I think he only retired there recently, but I think we need another second row, don't we?
Well, yeah, exactly. But that's a great point. Actually, we watched the Pro 12 final back, and he was just incredible. Like to see the hands on a man that size and the footwork and the ability to look at these passes.
He was the real link man there in that team. Like
that's actually a good one. This one came in from Aina, who's obviously an avid listener on the podcast. Thanks, Aina. If you could bring one player back, or a player's form, or a player to return to that form from that 2016 season, who would it be?
Oh, sorry, you stalled when you were saying the last question. I thought that was the question you were saying.
Oh, sorry.
Because that's who I picked.
Well, it kind of works the same actually. So it was a kind of player that you would have liked to see given more of an opportunity or more time at the club. That they may have left too soon. So you could also use Ali Muldowney.
Or if we could say Robbie Henshaw.
Oh, well, yeah, I think that's too sore for a lot of people to bring up.
Yeah.
I don't think that was Connacht not giving him time. I think that was...
Yeah, no, 100%. I don't know. That's an interesting one, actually. I wish I had more time with that one.
We interviewed Ty Gleeder on this podcast before, who obviously went off to Italy after that and plays for USA now. So that could be possibly one, because there's no doubt in his talent.
He's talking about an NFL career number.
Yeah, I know. It's incredible, and he seems to be going the right way about it.
Yeah, he was very good. Conor Gilson, I think it was he kind of left from his own accord as well at one stage. He was another great talent.
Sam, who's been on the podcast, said I can't remember his first name, but Boshoff, the fly half.
Boshoff. Yeah, he was good. I think was it injury or something that kind of cost him a lot of game time.
Yeah, the lads were a bit upset because he came in and sort of replaced AJ McGinty, and then it didn't really seem to work out. So.
Well, yeah, AJ would have been but he kind of, it was a pity to see him go as well. Another big name that left. But there's loads. Like when you think about it, there's loads and loads there.
Yeah,
but
probably
Robbie for me.
Robbie, okay. I'd say that would probably be, if Connacht fans were honest with themselves, I'd say that would be the right answer. And then finally, kind of just what it's been like. So obviously said before, you covered Connacht for 6 years of your journalistic career. What's that like? So what sort of level of interaction do you get with the players? Is it tough to criticize players when you're sort of dealing with them that much? Do you find it difficult to sort of separate he's a nice lad, but he had a bad game? Is that tough as a journalist?
Yeah, so I would have done, I worked with Media West in Galway, and we would have wrote for all the national papers and all that sort of stuff. And we would have done an Irish Independent supplement with Connacht for a while. So we would have been doing press conferences weekly, and we would have done matches at the weekend then, that sort of thing. But yeah, you would have, after every match you're talking to the players, like every press conference you're talking to the players, you get to know them. You might be calling them on the phone for quotes at certain stages or whatever. And yeah, it can be difficult to separate the, if you're writing in a match report, you don't want to say he made a terrible mistake that cost the team a defeat. It can actually get difficult in that stage, and that, like, it's yeah, that would be one of the things that would be difficult about it, just separating the, having to look the guy in the face afterwards after you said he missed a tackle or something, But you have to do it, You have to be
Yeah.
professional at the end of the day, and you have to write down what you see and just be honest.
Any examples of awkward
No,
altercations?
no comment. Jesus, no comment.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. What's it like during the week then? Do you get to go? Are you in the sports grounds much back in the day? Like, what's your
Yeah.
kind of day to day?
So when I was with Media West, it would have been like maybe the Connacht press conference would have been on, we'll say Monday or Tuesday. Well, Leinster normally would have been Monday, so Connacht would be Tuesday, and Munster probably would have been Tuesday. So we would have been in the sports ground on a Tuesday, and it would have been myself and maybe a couple of local journalists, and the coach comes in and there's a couple of players put up as well, and it could be a head coach, could be forwards coach, backs coach, whatever, and then it could be just say Bundy or Tiernan or whatever, and the goal of BFM normally go first. They ask whatever they want, and then then we go the print and the online go after that, and they just ask their questions, and sometimes we get answers, and yeah, we send off our piece then to the papers for the next day, and or for the online go up straight away. They go up on their website straight away, and yeah, and we'll have our work then for the Thursday and the Friday leading into the match, and it's all preview stuff, and then the match at the weekend. You're going to the lovely warm sports ground at the weekend. Putting on
Seven layers on you.
putting on your winter cap in the middle of April or May, and
Yeah.
yeah, and if we're playing in May, and yeah, that's the joys of being a sports journalist with Connacht, working with Connacht Rugby.
And
They've always been great to deal with. Now, in fairness, I would never have any arguments or anything with them. They're always great to deal with.
And any player stood out for the last couple of years as being like they just give honest answers? Because obviously, as professional rugby continues to progress, the more media trained these players become, and media trained doesn't always necessarily mean you get the most honest answers or most emotional answers. So, has any player stood out that they've always been genuine with their answers, or they're always good for a good quote?
Yeah, I'm trying to think now. It's normally the younger guys. They get the best stuff off. Because I think after a few years, you kind of, like, they might have bad dealings with the press, and they mightn't want to say certain things in case it comes back on them, But normally the younger guys, like, I can't think of anyone namely, but it would normally be the younger lads. I know is they just talk away, They're just nice to deal with, and like they're always nice to deal with. But the younger guys just they're nice and fresh, and they don't mind saying certain things, and like we wouldn't be out to hang anyone either, like, but you would have the odd one out there that would do that, but no, we wouldn't.
Yeah. And did you notice that probably because when you started, obviously, like, Connacht have come on leaps and bounds, I'm sure, when it comes to professionalism since you started covering them to when you finished. So did you notice that progression of lads were getting more and more media trained, and they were becoming more sort of professional with their answers as such? Because we've all seen it, and sometimes it can be, well, as a journalist, do you just accept that, or do you try and then go about probing them so many different ways to try and get maybe a better response?
At the end of the day, we need quotes. So you do have to probe, like, whether you want to or not. Like, you have to ask the difficult questions to get the quotes. It's not always the most pleasant experience if someone doesn't want to talk about something and you're like, I need these quotes. Can you just answer it a different way or something, or blah blah blah. But yeah, no, like, things I've noticed in Connacht basically has just been the change in infrastructure, that they've become more professional, yes, because, like, there's better players coming in, there's better coaching, there's better people behind the scenes, there's, like, it's just transformed massively in the last few years. Like, it's completely different to what it would have been just say 10 years ago, when I would have been a season ticket holder and I was standing on the Clan Terrace side, and there was no stand there. There was a few steps, and you stood up there and you froze to death, but you were getting rain down top of you as well. It's just a completely different place now. There's like before 2020, I was there 6,000 at every match and all that. Like sometimes, yeah, it's an amazing place now. Like, but yeah, it's yeah, that's it.
Yeah, no, that's great, and here's hoping to even more success in the next couple of years with Connacht. And
Yeah, I don't see why not.
yeah, 100%. Daragh, that's great. Thank you very much for joining us. That's all I have for you this evening. So I appreciate you giving up your time, and we'll do it again sometime, Daragh.
Yeah, cheers, Stephen. You too.
Cheers,
Thanks.
man.
Enjoyed
See you
it.
soon.
Thanks. Bye.